gentlemen, we are on lockdown. It's okay, though, because we're going to keep talking baseball no matter what. That's Aram Layton, but we're joined with Colby Olson because we got to talk Red Sox stuff. We got to talk about all the remaining moves. But first, we're on lockdown. Is it the end of the world? I don't think so, but I really want to go over it with you guys. But first, it's Friday. How you guys doing?
Doing well. I mean, I woke up this morning just kind of like, there's that level of excitement the last few days where you knew that if you woke up or anytime you looked at your phone, that there was a chance that something happened. And that was cool. And that was super exciting. And now I just know that if I check my phone, it's only going to be something stupid that Rob Manfred said, or a complaint from Tony Clark, or just meeting ended after 7 minutes. And it's just like, now I'm just so much less excited. My screen time might be down. That might be good. And I'm just diving into prospects now, but we're going to have a lot of fun. I think it's a really awesome time for us to dig into the creativity, and we're going to have a lot of fun episodes moving forward and a lot of discourse on this, but it is crazy going from 100 to 0 in terms of the free agency and that side of things.
7 minutes. I can't believe it. But Colby, you're a resident Red Sox guy, a resident numbers guy, and somewhat of a genius. I mean, I'm definitely smarter, but how you doing, brother?
Always good to see you, Mr. Humble Pete. I'm doing good, man. I mean, it was a crazy last minute trade that went down last night. But before we get into that, I am wearing a Barry Bonds Pittsburgh Pirates jersey. And you might ask why? Well, we are not allowed to show the image and likeness of current players. So I thought, let's wear something from the olden times.
I love it. Because that's the dumbest shit ever. What are they doing? All the faces are blacked out on MLB.com. What are they trying to do? As if like, oh no, the MLB isn't real until we come to a deal.
The players are basically like, you better not use our face. You better not use our name and likeness if you're not going to agree to a deal with us, which honestly, from the players' perspective, I understand it a little bit because of just how little the owners are willing to budge. So it's like, if you're not going to budge, well, you better not sell our jerseys. You better not do anything as it pertains to us. But
yes,
at the same time, it's like you go to MLB.com right now, and if you wanted to find an article relevant to anything going on, like we're not even making this up. If you haven't seen this, legitimately go to MLB.com. It's only articles that have to do with players who are retired or just nothing to do with players who are currently active. It could just be like, this guy built a baseball field in his backyard. Check this story out. Like, they're going to be grasping for straws so hard that it's going to be a bit, honestly. I'm going to start monitoring MLB.com and just the craziest stories that they run, because I know they're going to run some crazy shit. Like, I'm ready for the weirdest shit.
They took off the Astros mascot Orbit. He might be the key to all this, now that I think about it.
Orbit
is the Astros.
He's pissed also.
I was explaining the whole process to my stepmom earlier today, and she was just like, this is wild. It's wild stuff. I showed her that their images weren't there, and I was explaining the whole process. People are interested in this outside of the baseball world because it's almost not baseball at this point. It's a battle of politics.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Rob Manfred. I mean, Rob Manfred's not even a baseball guy, right? He's a labor attorney. That's what he always was. And he packed his way into this job by the way he was able to help the owners in 94. And he's a really good labor attorney. He's not even a baseball fan. He said that himself. So I think that's pretty clear. And by the way, I pulled up MLB.com and it says, great reads, baseball road trip locations in all 50 states. We found them. This is the next one. We found them. They're the worst team ever. And then they had one career at bat and one career hit. And then my favorite one is, she struck out Ted Williams and Hank Aaron. Dude, could you imagine being just like in the collab room right now, like wherever they brainstorm shit, and they're just like, what do we do? Like, you have to write about baseball, but you can't write about the major league players. Okay.
KBO is about to go nuts, or the MPB. We got to start covering that, because I mean, I'm seeing things like, I just saw a video today where it was Barry Bonds, bringing up the pirate stuff.
Oh, I did see that video.
It was Barry Bonds where guys are jumping off trampolines. There's two players, like one of them's going to throw a pitch at Barry Bonds, and he kept sending it out of the park. And I saw that on TikTok. And from TikTok, we're getting a lot of comments of a lot of people very worried if we're even going to have a season. So I kind of just want to touch on that for a bit, like what the lockout means for baseball. What it means is a freeze on trades and signings of all major league players. But there's no communication between the teams and players on their minor league rosters, and the winter meetings were canceled, usually where Brian Cashman chooses to cook. Him and the rest of the GMs don't get that opportunity this winter, but it doesn't mean the games are canceled. The pressure, I don't think, will really mount until, I mean, Colby, you and I were talking about this. It could go into February. You guys think it might go into spring training? How long do you think this is going to last, Colby?
Well, so I was doing some research on past lockouts and work stoppages earlier today, and there have been 9 in MLB history. Every single time, each of them 9 times, the stoppage went into spring training at least. So I believe that this stoppage is at least going to go maybe into spring training. I hope we don't lose games at the very least. I mean, that would just be detrimental to baseball and the interest level. I mean, they lost $3 billion in 2020. 2019 was their best year ever. They made $10 billion. So when you're thinking getting fans interested, 2021 was a great year. I feel like everyone was really into baseball. It was an amazing competitive year. And now if we're going to lose that interest level again, that's just detrimental. I mean, what do you think about it, Aram?
Yeah, you bring up 2 really good points, and I was going to bring up anyway, so I'm glad you teed that up, because there's like the rational mind where you're like, okay, they obviously lost a lot of money, no matter how much it was. I know the owners cried poor. I don't think they lost as much as they said they did, but regardless, they lost money. No one was buying tickets to games, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
They claimed, Arm, $3.1 billion.
Yeah.
Is that the correct number?
No shot, because it's to me, the equivalent is, and I don't like to get political, but like it's the equivalent of Trump saying, I'm a billionaire, but I won't show you my tax returns. Like if you're going to cry about how much you lost, but not show it and just strategically leak stuff, then I'm not going to buy it. But what I will buy is that they lost money. And so did the players, right? Because they got prorated salaries. So everybody lost money. So everybody stands to lose again here in 2021 or 2022, excuse me, if they don't have a season. And that's where I'm looking at it like, okay, every game you lose is more money lost. Baseball really headed in the right direction. I think we saw playoff ratings up. I think, a World Series matchup that by a ratings perspective was a terrible matchup, I thought did well relative to the 2 markets. Like there's a lot of good things. Local TV ratings were up. You want to build on that momentum. So rationally thinking, you'd be like, okay, they're going to try to find a way to get a deal done. But I also could just see it as like, they're not even going to think about that. I just think they're so caught up in everything that they want to get sorted out, and all of it's just so contentious and so ugly that I'm afraid that we might get far away from the reasonability of just both sides lose here if you don't agree, right? Like if both sides don't come to an agreement, it's not like one side ends up better off than the other. Everybody loses, and the fans and us lose the most. So it's really a shame. And I wonder how much, reasonability is going to creep in here. And I'm afraid it might not be that much.
And Colby, to your point that this has happened before, it hasn't happened in 26 years. But I want to take you all through a timeline of all the lockouts that have ensued in Major League Baseball. In 1972, we had a 13-day strike, which did affect the regular season. In 1973, we had a lockout that only affected spring training. 76, same story there. Lockout, spring training only. 1980, same story, except it was a strike this time and it affected spring training. In 81, we again had a 53-day strike that affected the regular season. And in 1985, we had a 2-day strike affecting the regular season. 1990, lockout, pushing opening day back, but the season ended up playing in full. They went all 162. And then we know the big one, 1994 to 1995, there was a 232-day strike, and it ended up canceling the 1994 playoffs. I remember the Montreal Expos were in that. Now they're the Washington Nationals. So we've seen this before, and I agree with you, Colby. I really do think that 99.9% of my body is saying that we're not going to miss any regular season games. But I just don't trust these people, dude. I don't trust Manfred. I don't trust these owners. Why are you flying in for 7 minutes? That pissed me off.
Yeah.
I didn't really give you guys a question. I'm just angry.
I don't trust Tony Clark either, though.
I don't trust it. I don't trust any of these.
I don't think Tony Clark is the right guy either, because we have to be fair here. And yes, the owners are definitely the side that needs to give the most by at least what I think. But I also think that the players have not really eloquently laid out what they actually want. And that's all stems from Tony Clark. I'm not sure Tony Clark is the guy. And we saw this in 2020. I think this was the warning of what we were going to see here. They couldn't agree on anything in 2020. We were able to kind of just kick the can down the road. And here we are again. And it just seems like Clark isn't the right guy. He doesn't have a great relationship with the owners at all. I know it's usually going to be contentious, but Clark just has not done a good job of laying out what they want. And it seems like both sides just are yelling at each other and neither is listening. And that's where you're just wasting time. And I think that's why 7 minutes ended up being 7 minutes. But at that point, it's those kind of headlines that I think will start to get people worried and start to lose people. It's not no progress has been made towards a deal. It's the detail in it of like, they sat down 7 minutes later, they're gone. Like, what is this? This is a joke. That's theatrics to me. That's all that is.
I don't think they have a solution. I think that's the problem. I don't think that the players really have a way that they're going to be happy. So I was reading an article from Buster Olney today saying that the second and third tier veterans and free agents are really going to suffer the most here. The average contract for a mid-tier free agent in 2014 was $12 million a year. Today, or in 2020, for that matter, $6.2 million. And there was a great quote from an agent named Seth Levinson. And he said, if the new CBA allowed more players to attain arbitration or free agency status at earlier stages in their careers, it would accomplish very little without pressure points requiring clubs to pay. A lower threshold for arbitration eligibility will result in more players being non-tendered, and the consequence for players reaching free agency at 5 years instead of 6 years will be the market will be flooded with more free agents, and there will be less money to go to those players. So I don't think they have a solution. It's just that the best players are going to get bigger contracts, and those mid-tier guys are going to get screwed over.
That's such a good point, Colby, because we think that the market is so high. Corey Seager signs a 10-year, $325 million deal. Robbie Ray, Kevin Gausman, Javier Baez, Marcus Stroman, Max Scherzer's getting paid $43 million a year as a 37-year-old. The big guys are getting paid. But according to the Associated Press, the average major league salary has fallen 6.4% since 2017, and the median salary is down 30% since the record high in 2015. That's just the reality of what we're dealing with. It's almost like these big contracts keep fans away from thinking, oh, everyone must be making more and more money, when in reality, the average player is making less and less and less every single season. So you can understand why the players are reasonably upset, asking for things to get them more paid. For example, Universal DH adds 15 more jobs, 15 more salaries. But the owners, even though it would make the game more fun, they're like, no, we don't want to pay that. It's unbelievable